Hello and welcome to another MTD podcast on the run with MTD. This is broadcast every Friday evening at 6 o'clock, where we talk about everything that we've been up to in the week before. We bring out a few facts, have a bit of fun along the way, and I'm joined obviously by guests. And today I've got three of them from MTD. I've got Karl Creamer. Hi, Karl.
Hi, Paul.
How you keeping? All right?
All good, thank you.
Got some big news from you this week, which we're going to touch on shortly. I've also got Joe Reynolds and Lyndsey Vickers.
How are we doing?
Yeah.
Very good, very good. You two?
Yeah, good.
Can't complain, all good.
How are you, Lyndsey? How's the pregnancy holding up? All right?
I'm just getting big. I've got like an egg on my front. It's very strange.
Joe, your egg's gone.
Yeah, my egg has gone. Yeah. Passed it over.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, both me and yourself have been on a bit of a weight crash recently, haven't we? I think I'm still winning.
Are you?
Well,
how much have you lost?
So I've been told, just over a stone now. What about you?
Oh, thanks for asking. I've lost a stone myself. So who's counting?
And we're going to start with a man that doesn't clearly need to lose any weight, Mr. Creamer. Welcome to this podcast. We don't often have you on, but I wanted to bring you in this week because the May edition of the magazine is out.
Yeah.
Exciting times.
Very exciting. Another healthy issue. Landed on desks. Should have landed on desks, most people's desks by now. Royal Mail is doing a good job for us there, but and now the digital edition is available too. It's a good issue, real good issue.
Okay, so for those listening that don't know, which I'd be surprised, we actually do 6 magazines a year. It's January, March, May, July, September and
November.
There you go, yeah. And you can actually subscribe to get a copy by visiting the MTDCNC website and receive a copy. Now, Karl, it's been about 2 years now, hasn't it, since we've had this publication. It's gone down really well with the market, hasn't it? Why do you think that is, and what's different about it for those that don't know?
So we're now in our third year. So 6 times a year, as you said. We kicked off in MAC 2018, as you know, and then really sowed some seeds as far as what we were going to do. And to be 2.5 years already down the road.
It's 2.5.
Yeah, unbelievable. And the fact that the May issue's already out this year, it's gone so quickly. And we're still getting going. We're still trying to establish ourselves. I think the beauty of what we do with MTD, the fact that you and this team, this company have come to it with a totally different outlook, i.e. coming from just purely digital and then added to a printed product to it. And as you said, why did we add? Why did you do that? Why did you make that decision? And I honestly believe there was a gap in the marketplace for a proper technical production engineering magazine with the right frequency and real good pertinent content.
Yeah, and it certainly has that. I mean, flicking through. Joe, you've read it front to back, haven't you?
Of course, I must admit.
What was the best bit?
I prefer to listen to it, in truth. It comes out as an audio book as well, so should you not want to...
Is that because you can listen better than you can read? Or?
No, it's because I can't read it whilst walking the dog, in truth. But yeah, no, I'm interested. 2.5 years in, does that mean Karl's passed his probation yet?
No, that's 3 years.
3-year probation, okay.
Normally 3 months, but it was extended to 3 years.
Yeah. No, joking aside, when we launch a product, the magazine, a different channel, the website, it's got to be different, hasn't it? It's got to be different. It's got to be best in class. It's got to be profitable, to be frank. And it ticks all the boxes, doesn't it, the magazine? It's really good. Some great features. We have a lot of healthy contributors. Just looking here, Keith Ridgway, founder of the AMRC, Will Sterling is in it each issue. Dr. Christian Young, John Yates. Every issue we get these household names.
Lyndsey, do you read it?
Yes, of course I read it. I like to spot the difference, to be honest, Paul.
Do you have to read that? Do you have to read that bit?
Yeah, how many, and every time.
There's 10 though, Lyndsey. There's 10,
There's not 10 spot the differences. There's 10 differences. No, I do.
The amount of people that message me on LinkedIn saying there's a mistake. There's not 10. Clearly there is 10.
Yeah,
but
there is.
Well, let's pick out before we move on. I mean, in this in this show, what we do is we talk about where we've been this week, and I know we've covered a lot of ground once again, and we're going to talk about what we're going to be doing in the coming days as well. So it's always good to find out what technologies the company or the guys have seen in the last week and what businesses we visited. So that's all coming very shortly. Before we move on from the magazine, Karl, just a couple of good stories that are in there that people can read in this issue.
I think the JWA...
And there's more than a couple, I'm sure.
There's several, and probably too many to mention. I mean, obviously, we've tried really to have a medical theme throughout, and we've brought measurement to the front of this magazine. So great sort of case study, great technical content from Hexagon, from Mitutoyo. And then when we look at the regular machining section, the 5-page feature from JAA Tooling, a really interesting read. And again, several features here where we link using the QR code linked to the MTD video. A great live event that we did with CGTech. So again, 3-page feature, good image. Again, the QR code, and then really dovetailing the printed product with the digital aspect as well.
Good. Couple of questions for you actually here. I'd be interested to know whether you know the answers to this. What is the best-selling magazine in this country, do you think? What do you think, Lyndsey?
Men's Health or something like that.
Men's Health. Do you really think so, Joe?
I don't know. Maybe not. Sewing Street, something like that.
Don't tell me it's a Spot the Difference magazine.
I'm going to go with Take a Break.
Karl?
Without being too rude, the razzles and
Oh
things.
my God.
But, I'm sure.
You're right.
Hound.
You're right.
Is it?
No.
I was going to say, we're not in the 80s still, Karl.
TV choice, would you believe? And
Has
did
it got
you
a
know?
Spot the Difference in it?
I couldn't tell you. I've never purchased it.
Razzle has.
With roots dating back to which date do you think the first and the oldest magazine was actually published?
I know The Engineer is certainly up
No,
there.
across.
Okay.
Forget this
okay.
industry.
Okay.
First ever magazine to be published.
Cool.
What date? Come on, take a guess. Lindsay's looking. 1829. Would you believe?
Just about to say 1830.
Really?
Honestly.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Pretty late guess, Joe. I won't
what
give
was
you
it?
that one. It was the oldest magazine was The Observer, which was published in 1829.
See, that's the magazine was the following year. That was a newspaper.
Is that right? Yes. Okay, let's start with what we've been up to this week. So we're going to start with Monday. It's been a really busy week once again. Lyndsey's joined us again on this podcast this week because you've been out to a few companies that have been really interesting visits. So the first one was on Monday, wasn't it? Can you pronounce the name of the company?
Caffyn?
It's Caffyn, is it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's just because it's Caffyn. I didn't know whether there was a different interpretation. Oh,
It's
is
his
it?
surname, yes. So this is a lovely company. In fact, they started a business during the pandemic, and they had a facility, but it was kind of part of another facility on an industrial estate. And he bought a Herco, and then 6-7 months on, he's now moved out of that facility to one that's way bigger, and he's now got 3 Hercos.
When did he start? Did you say? Just remind me.
6-7 months ago.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, yeah, because it's not a
long.
company I'd heard of before when I saw the name. And I used to actually cover that territory, selling
Yeah.
machines, and I'd never come across that business.
No, he
surprised.
worked for another business, in fact, and that business then got sold. So then he thought, well, you know what? If I can do all of this, why not just do it myself and make the money? So he started up, and so far, within 6-7 months, he's got 3 machines.
So what's he
3
making?
Hercos. Small batch work. So the one thing he wants to hone in on is small batch work. He does not want to. He would turn away someone if they gave him, say, 100 off or anything like that. That's all. That's where his market is.
Okay, he's also a user of the
subcontract machine
It's a
shop.
subcontract
Yeah.
machine. He's a user of the PSL data track software, which is one of the reasons you went there. Sometimes it takes businesses quite a few years in existence to start investing in that sort of software. So interesting.
Straight away, he used it at a previous company.
Right.
He said I wouldn't be without it, and I think he would actually say that was helped or was part of his growth because of it, just to help him control everything, so he can basically use his time more efficiently, and everything else is getting done for him.
So if you wanted some bits making, would you get him to do them?
Absolutely.
Good.
And Lyndsey, this started up during the pandemic?
Yes.
Wow.
Literally.
There's been quite a
6-7
few of
months
that.
ago.
There's been quite a lot of that. In fact, I'd say in the last half a year, we've been visiting companies that have started up in the last 18 months, and they've wanted us to come in because it's great exposure, but the story goes often that they've left a previous job, been made redundant, and thought, do you know what,
I'm going to do it.
Do it myself.
I also want to add to it is the fact that he previously, so of course different changes happened, but he's very much into training people up, and he's like, right, okay, members of staff, I don't want to have the best trained person. Bring it on. Someone believed in me, and so I want people to come and work for me who I believe in and can help train them up as well. So I think his work ethic is really, really, really good, really strong. He's got everything in the right places. And what was it? I think he's got 4 kids.
Right.
I mean, who does that? Who can do that? Who's got
Gio?
time to?
Well, he's got 3.
He's got 3.
So-
That's what I mean.
Probably
It's
why he does
amazing.
it if he's got 4 kids.
Yeah.
I've been trying to train people up for years. It just never works.
No. Then you brought me on, and then now you're
there
fine.
you go. So moving on, I've just got a couple of shout outs. In fact, Pete Wood from JWA wanted a shout out on the show, which I know he features in the MTD magazine this month. Mark from A&M Engineering. Alan from Motorsport CMC. I was at Ward Hi-Tech on Tuesday this week. Sam Jarvis, a listener to the show, that wanted a shout out as well. Scott Ravenscroft from CGTech also wanted a shout. So plenty of people getting in contact with the show. So it's good to see people are listening. Also on Monday, we had 2 guests to the studio. First is which was CGTech. This was about the digital twin. I'm going to throw to Joe on this one because I know he knows a lot about digital twins. What is it?
It's not like a normal twin. No, so a digital twin is when you try and replicate what's on your machine tool in an office environment or on a computer rather than an office. But yeah, so essentially the kinematics of the machine, how the part looks, how the part, is it going to fail? You know, you're going to foul on the workpiece. Are you going to foul on the device? It's becoming, when it first came out a few years ago, I must admit, it's a bit overkill, but certainly now automation, less operators present, robots loading fixtures. I think there's an ever increasing market for it, in truth.
So what's the difference though? Because I always thought that that's what verification software did. I always thought verification software was there to eliminate any possible risk of collisions. So is this just the next step on from that?
Yeah, exactly that. So the whole machine is very accurate to, the actual machine tool itself, not just, quite often with verification, not always, but quite often it is just a very small part of the machine tool, whereas this is everything, the correct kinematics, everything. Yeah,
so new product from CGTech. There'll be technical corners coming to the channel in due course. We also have MAPAL here on Monday talking about some new tool holders. Joe, you've had familiarity as well with MAPAL's tool hauling in the past, haven't you? Maybe even from a user's perspective or just from doing technical corners, but it's certainly up there with some of the best.
Yeah, it is. So the Hydro Mill, Hydro Dream, basically what you're looking to do with that style of cutter, you're looking to clamp the round shank tooling around 360 degrees, reduce vibration, and it prolongs the life of the spindle as well. I think they claim up to 15% actually, which you think 15% is a long time on a spindle, isn't it? So it's hydraulic chucks.
It's always interesting to see how many people invest, and we always say a lot of money in machine tools, but don't often consider getting the best equipment to go with it. So there's an opportunity to do that with MAPAL. Technical corners from them coming soon too. Karl, do you know much about MSC as a company?
MSC Supply. Yeah, sort of way back when to J&L suppliers they were, Kennametal owned, I think back in the day, and obviously from that we now have MSC Supply. Yeah,
because I mean we had them here on, it was Wednesday this week. We were doing a podcast and a technical corner on their new product, one of their new products, which it's resonation. And again, I'll probably come to Joe on this, but it detects the vibration happening in the machining process. And then it takes all of that data and then enables you to almost get rid of that vibration. Is that right, Joe? It sort of dampens it down so you get a better machining process. You can you get better surface finishes. You get less wear on your cutting tools. You get less wear on your machine. And this is just one product. I'll come back to that in a minute because I'm sure you'll have some input to it. But what I found out about MSC was really interesting as well, in the fact that they really push their way they solve companies' problems. And it's something we hear so often. We're a solution provider. We don't just sell a box, we sell a tool. But I was very impressed with Matt Kavanagh that came here, and he was talking about how it came across his engineering knowledge. He's done an apprenticeship. He's worked on machine tools. He's worked in the factory using cutting tools. He's worked on CAD/CAM solutions. He's been in service departments and applications departments. So his skill set is what all the other engineers have got that work for MSC as well. So they really are there able to go into a company and they don't just talk about solving problems, but actually improving their business. So it was something I didn't actually know until they came here, which was, I wondered whether you knew that too, because I know.
I think they've come on such a long way from the old sort of catalogue orders, you know, great big, thick, heavy catalogue that they used to produce, and the calibre of person they've employed, the whole ethos of what MSC Supply is today, and testimonial to the recruitment. And yes, I know solution providers are an age-old adage, but they certainly are. And testimonials to the, as I say, to the people they employ. They're from the industry. They've come on leaps and bounds. I've noticed in recent years, and I've known them for a very long time.
Well, the Millmax product, as it is basically, it's like an expensive, they hate calling it a hammer, it's an exonerator or an accelerator or something, and you hit the spindle, and what it does is it detects the resonance. Is that right, Joe?
Were you listening? Were you
there?
I
was listening, but there were so many words being bandied around, and they were big
technical.
words. And then from that, you can then detect where this vibration is, and you can then improve your machining process, cut costs, longer tool life. Is that good? Could I have sold that to you, or was that bad?
But do you want PO?
Yeah.
No, essentially, when you put a tool
PO,
into a tool holder, every tool in the world will have its own frequency, down to how it's balanced, how many flutes in it. Think of a tuning fork on a piano. It's not a million miles removed from that, really. And you're removing variables with science, essentially. And you're absolutely right. We all open up a back of a catalogue. It's in canal. It's going to be 40 metres at point whatever a rev, and it's a bit of a guesswork because the tooling company have tried that on a brand new machine in a showroom somewhere and have tested it to death. But I might have a 20-year-old machine, mightn't I? So clearly, it's not going to perform the same as it would do in that type of environment. With the tap test, which is what this is, it basically uses algorithms to calculate optimum machine efficiency.
It's like you're getting the diagnostics of the machine.
Yeah, it takes the guesswork out, essentially, because there is an element of guesswork. You know roughly what it needs to be, and then you look at the swath, now I need to increase my feed rate or decrease it.
And they had this dashboard, and you've basically got this like dial in a car, and the green bits up to here maybe is where you can machine in safely. Then it's red for 1,000 RPM, and then it's green again. So you can pick any of the machine areas of green and machine within that.
Yeah.
But my question was, and I'd be interested to know whether you have thought this, Joe, doesn't a machine tool within itself have all of the ability to detect industry for, you know, all these vibrations and monitor these things? So in itself, you can create
not
those.
as they are today. I guess going forward, there's no reason they can't. But it is about that frequency of the tool. And you can spin the tool around at X amount of RPM, and you can hopefully work out what the run out is and things like that. But you're not going to get the frequency of the tool.
I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly what they said too. So I was wrong. Okay. Lyndsey, Wednesday. Yeah, I'm done.
I want to know what piano he's got in his house that he's finally tuning as well. You got one, Joe?
Second on one.
I've got a joke there, but I won't, because we don't want to edit it out. So.
On Wednesday, Lyndsey, motorsport company you went to. Tell us about what happened there with Alan, another Herco customer, wasn't he?
He's brilliant. Now we saw some tasty cars. The worth of cars in that facility is.
You're looking at Ian over there, because
I am, because he's a car fanatic.
He's got a sweat on.
Shall I just say it's a lot of money? He re-engineers parts for historic racing cars. David Waghorn from Herco put a piece of steel on one of the machines. It's during the pandemic when he said, you know, I'm looking to his last machine wasn't really, I say, fit for purpose. So he phoned up Herco. David Waghorn was the only person really in at that time, got him down all safely, down to High Wycombe, put a piece of steel on, and both he and his son were down at the facility. He showed him the demo, they looked at each other and they went, there, that's the one.
That'll do.
Wow.
That'll do. Previously, you know, from what he previously saw as demonstrations to that, he's like, that is it. It sold it to me. And he loves this machine. It does everything that he needs, faster, quicker, more efficiently.
I saw some pictures of some nice cars.
Some lovely cars.
And so another nice wheel. And
A wheel.
Another nice
it was
wheel.
a wheelie one as well.
Wheel one,
Yeah, those are the types of parts. So I've also
Was he
got
machining those wheels?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the calipers and everything, and then he's trying to like push it to the next level, and put fourth axis. Well, he's got fourth axis on the table, but he wants to make it more efficient. Even though again he's small batch work, but even the small batch work companies are still saying if we can make a small cycle time saving, long term I can move on to my next part. So they're considering that too. So
It's reliable manufacture, isn't it, in a small company as well?
Yeah.
Speaking of cars, Paul,
Yes.
talk to us about your car. How are you getting on?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, it's really good. Really like it. Yeah.
soft top, isn't it?
Soft top. Yeah, soft
How are you
top.
getting on with this wonderful weather we're having?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I think it was sent deliberately, wasn't it? I think
We
I've
had,
only
we
opened
had the roof
roof
down
once.
just, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Did you
could
really?
he could barely get out the back of the
Honestly,
car.
I was sat in the front and I could see over the windscreen. Next thing I know,
shut
I
the
nearly
roof
have my
off.
head taken off by this blooming piece of cloth.
Yeah.
Oh God.
This is an interesting question here, and I'm going. Ian's off camera, but he is listening. How many components are make up in a Formula One car,
20,000.
Carl?
8,000.
Lyndsey?
I'm going to go down the middle. 12,000.
Ian? What's that? 20,000? No, it's 80,000.
Really?
80,000
So I said
components. Richard.
8.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And how many times do you think a Formula One driver changes gear in a Formula One race?
Ooh, come back to me. I'm going to work it out.
How many?
How many times does he change gear in one of those races?
Thousands. There you go.
2,800 times he changes
that.
gear. Yeah,
Yeah.
unbelievable. And how many calories does a driver lose in a Formula One race?
A lot.
2,000.
600. It's not a lot, is it? And I thought when I listened to that, I actually thought it's probably understandable because they're very slight anyway, aren't they? So
Yeah.
when you are small, it's like now you're finding it harder to lose weight because you've lost a bit of weight. And you were saying earlier, you're putting it back on again now. So
How many,
see
from
you.
what journey you've just done, how many calories did he lose? Or was he eating Twixes along the
I know I
way?
did a lot of sweating. So just on that, did you know the Eiffel Tower can be 15 centimetres taller in the summer?
really? Okay.
Where are these facts coming
Interesting
from?
fact. And
15
Australia is wider than the moon.
Yeah, really? Wow. Yeah.
Thanks
Well
for
done,
that, Joe.
Thanks for, the
Moving on.
thanks for the contribution. Okay, then R&G Precision, Lyndsey, that you were at. This is a company we've been to twice in about 3 or 4 weeks, but this time you actually saw Enzo, didn't you? How's he getting on with his MX330 machine? Because you were there yesterday.
He is over the moon, and it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't get another one, if I'm quite honest. He is over the moon with it. In fact, what's quite interesting, we've never ever heard a company say this before, is the fact that everyone was trained, everyone was ready, all of the parts were, all the work holding and everything was all kind of prepared. So as soon as that machine was in, after installation, literally as soon as it was, he was cutting, and he put a post on LinkedIn, and even Dominic went, "Oh my gosh, you've got it cutting already, are you serious?" And he said, "Yes." So, and it was Matsura who had done all of the groundwork with him to get him to that stage. So as soon as it hit the ground, he's been running with that machine.
So this is the MX330 from Matsura we're talking about here, which is a 10-pallet 5-axis machine, a machine that we're frequently seeing go into companies that maybe aren't even Matsura users, maybe aren't even users of automation. They've had some real success there. For those that don't know, but I'm sure most of you do, we've got various other channels at MTDCNC, or MTD I should say, one of which is MTD MFG. Joe, you head this one up. The Great British Manufacturing Podcast is something people should be listening to as well, isn't it, on a weekly basis? What was the news this week from manufacturing in general? What's good's been happening? Because I've been listening to it recently, and I know that the production managers index is right up, and there's lots of recruitment going on, isn't there? Quite a time.
Yeah, it's all good news at the moment. Like in the mainstream media, we don't always hear it, unfortunately. But yeah, there's lots of good news. JLR they've had a heck of a recovery, fantastic recovery, really strong first quarter, record numbers. We had British Volt on last week. That was interesting, talking about the fact that batteries have to be made in the UK due to this new legislation, call it, where 50% of the vehicle has to be manufactured in the country of origin. So if we bought batteries in for China, because they're so expensive, essentially it would be a Chinese car made in England. So that that was really interesting, talking about, do we need 2 giga plants? Do we need 8? Yeah, it was really interesting. But it's just, honestly, if you go to MTD every day there's good news. Every single day. There's new board members at Norton, changing gear, taking that business forward. Yeah, just lots of good news.
And Karl, we mentioned the magazine at the start of this. It is a great read, but what are you hearing from the marketplace yourself at the moment?
I think the return to confidence, the return of confidence. We've always said, and we do reflect the industry, and all the marketing spiel and theories kind of go out the window when times are tough. And I think I'm really hearing and feeling a lot of resurgence in confidence. And I think that's then reflected. If it is any indication, the fact that we've produced another 84-page issue, it wasn't a peak. It wasn't. We didn't fall on our face with the next issue, and that for me is a small indication. When the industry's busy, I'm busy. We're busy. There's a confidence there, and when there's a confidence there, they want to keep that ball rolling. They're prepared to spend. These companies are prepared to spend, and I think we feel that. We feel the result of this coming out of lockdown and everything else, and I've been around long enough. We've manufactured our way out of the recession in 2008, and certainly manufacturing. Governments even mentioned it this time round in lockdown, and I'm just feeling the confidence that's returning. Everybody I'm speaking to across the board, they're busy, and I think that's great news.
Just on that, people talk about how often my mum says it, my mother-in-law says, "Oh, we don't make anything anymore." And I know we all disagree with it, but GDP
make a mess.
It's about 18% of GDP at the minute. What do you think it was at the peak when we apparently made everything?
15.
Well, no, it's more than it is now. It's 24%.
Yeah, but I thought it was a trick question.
Okay. No. At its peak, it was about 24% of GDP. So we're not a million miles away from it, are we? And it's another one, big news this week.
Is this better than your Eiffel Tower fact?
No, well, it's an engineering manufacturing.
Yes,
so there's a consortium led by Rolls-Royce set to make small reactors, basically, nuclear reactors. And they're going to set to create how many jobs in the UK?
2,628.
Karl?
3,422.
4,724.
Are you looking over my shoulder?
No, genuinely.
No, so it's going to create 40,000 jobs.
40.
Wow.
By 2050. Generate 52 billion of economic benefit. And
What sort of jobs will they be?
Everything, won't it? It's for a lot. Some of it will be into the supply chain, but they're making reactors at the end of the day. So there's going to be everything from CNC machining to assembly, accountancy. Everything, isn't it? It's a new business, but basically, and they're targeting $250 billion pounds rather of export. And there's already letters of intent in place, so it's going to happen.
Great stuff. I say, if you want to visit MTD to find out more stories like that, or listen to the Great British Manufacturing podcast. Karl, you've had two hips replaced now. Is that the reason that this particular edition of the magazine, and I hate to keep coming back to it, was all about medical? Because you've got experience in this?
Yeah, not particularly. I mean, interestingly, last year, May, we do 2 aerospace, 2 automotive, we do 1 medical and a UK manufacturing. But yeah, I am now the benefactor of UK manufacturing. 2 nice pieces of titanium. Ice hockey, playing that game finally took its toll, and now, I don't know what machine they were made on, but certainly very nice, perfectly manufactured here in the UK. 2 real nice pieces of titanium.
We've seen the scars.
Yeah,
I haven't, thank
we are
goodness.
recording this. Do you want to drop this slack? Just on that, you get 2, don't you? You get titanium and cobalt chrome hips. Mm-hmm. Who decides? Do you have to be wealthy to have the titanium ones? Is it a private thing or NHS? Or?
I think the surgeons have their favourite material. I mean, my right hip, which I've only had just done 8 weeks ago, I've actually got more ceramic in it this time than my left hip. But again, let's get into a whole different topic here. Additive manufacturing. Okay, these were cut. This was subtractive machining and cutting titanium as such. But we are already making these things additively. Again, a little bit of medical on that and stories on that with cheekbones and things like this in the May issue. But no, it's just by coincidence that May is our medical issue. And
if you need to know anything about cheekbones, I've got a square jaw or a chisel jaw. That's what they call it, isn't it?
So what you haven't replaced next March then? May rather.
Hopefully that's it. 2 hips. My knees are fine. Shoulders and knees are the tricky operations, but 2 new hips. I'm good to go.
Good stuff. Lyndsey, whose birthday is it today?
Oh my goodness, whose birthday is it today?
Yes.
Is it someone's birthday today? Paul.
Mr. Creamer on the corner.
Oh, is it yours?
Happy
Carl?
birthday, Carl.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Go on then, Paul, sing him happy birthday.
No,
Go on.
that'll
Go
come
on.
later. Okay, right, into next week. We're going to have to wrap this one up, guys. We've got another great week ahead of us. Joe and myself are at the Engineering Technology Group on Monday.
Just before we go,
Yep.
so I had a great day at CIS.
Oh, of course. Apologies.
No,
Carry
don't
on.
worry. Great day at CIS. So they're a tooling distributor in the southern part of England. Great people in there. And they've got a technology centre with a Grob and a couple of Doosands. Invited in there with Walter Tools. And we did a number of demos, which will be coming to the channel soon. My favourite, the barrel milling, something we've talked about in the past. It's a modular system. So, you screw it onto the Densomet or carbide or steel shank. Yeah, really good. In a 304 stainless, it's very impressive. So keep an eye out for that one.
Good. Always exciting videos when we look at barrel milling and stuff like that. So coming up next week, Joe and myself are at the Engineering Technology Group on Monday, where we're going to be previewing an event we're going to be doing in June. I think it's the 10th of June, where it's a collaboration between ETG and Bloom. We've also got visits next week planned at Euroa, with Euroa, a company in Portsmouth. We've got machine reviews down at Dugard, where I'm heading down to. We're also at a company in Ramsgate on Thursday. And Lyndsey, I know next week you are at Destech in Lincoln in Coria. And you're also at 2G Tooling in the Midlands on Wednesday, where they've just bought a brand new Abarmier travelling column 5-axis machine from Dugard.
I'm going to have to do some research then,
So a busy week in front of us next week. And next week is my birthday. So I may not be here. It might be somebody else. But anyway, guys, thanks for joining us this week. It's been, as always, a pleasure. I've got to say, if you want to get a copy of the May edition of the magazine and you don't have one already, then you can subscribe to it on the MTDCNC website. If you're interested in advertising in it, then contact Karl at karl@mtd.media. Thanks for joining us, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the MTD podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on mtdcnc.com.